What's up, everybody? This is Dan Thompson for Around the Association, the podcast. We're coming to you late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and we are talking everything about Game 3s of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Two games that have now put a definitive exclamation point, for the most part, on two series that probably are, let's just say, are both about finished now. The Cleveland Cavaliers just finished taking care of the Toronto Raptors. LeBron James buzzer beater took care of that one. And then the Philadelphia 76ers, for the second consecutive game in a row, could not get it done. They fell apart down the stretch. Turnovers and coaching decisions have costed the Sixers' last two games. And now both the Sixers and the Raptors are down 3-0, with potentially both being closed out as early as Monday night. With the Celtics potentially closing out things in Philadelphia on Monday night, and the Cavs have a chance to close out at home on Monday night against the Toronto Raptors. So I'm going to take the next few minutes to give you what you guys missed, if you missed both the games, or something to talk about as you go to the water coolers on Monday, or even sometime tomorrow in your daily commute, as the Western Conference Game 4s will be on tomorrow at 3:30 and 8 o'clock tomorrow night. But this is really about the Eastern Conference and the two games saw tonight. In the first game of the day, the Philadelphia 76ers just blew a game they should have won against the Boston Celtics. Al Horford scored 4 points in the final, 10 seconds. One off a bad switch off an inbounds, which was another one of Brad Stevenson's outstanding out-of-timeout plays. The ball is basically floated over the head of Robert Covington, and Horford got the nice basket at the end. And then Horford then pulls off a steal and gets fouled, as the Sixers had a chance to inbound it at the end of the game. And the Celtics went 101-98 in overtime in Philadelphia, pretty much putting the Sixers out of the playoffs. There's 3-0, and remember, there has not been a team to come back from a 3-0 deficit in this round. I think it's 120. I think the teams who are 3-0 are 127-0 in the actual playoffs in a 3-0 format. Jason Tatum's every game had 24 points. Horford, I guess he scored 4 points in the last few minutes of the game, last few seconds of the game. He finished with 13 points, 6 rebounds, and was everywhere across the floor. But this game was really about the Sixers' inability to close the game out. I mean, Marco Bellinelli saved them in regulation, knocking down that huge shot that his foot was on the line to send the game in overtime. But the inability of the Sixers to close the game out. They had chance after chance after chance, and just made turnover after turnover after turnover. And really, the Sixers were up in overtime. That was the part that was really interesting to watch, because the Sixers were up, as you know, I think up by 4 or 5 late in overtime. And next thing you know, the Sixers just collapsed. It was bad passing. I think one situation where Embiid had gotten. They tried to do a dribble handoff to Embiid. Embiid ends up handing over to Terry Rozier, and the Celtics got a layup off that. And then Ben Simmons' horrible inbound pass. I'm not still thinking to this actual have this moment now to have this conversation or this podcast, that of all the things you do, you would inbound the ball to Joel Embiid. Wouldn't you? Embiid is 7 foot tall. He's bigger than Al Horford. His catch radius is a whole lot bigger than Al Horford. Wouldn't you just throw the ball up? Now, I know some people think Ben Simmons should have had the chance not to be the inbounder, but mind you, Simmons is the best passer on this team. But there's just really no explanation for the turnovers the Sixers had. And another thing was, where was Dario Saric down the stretch? They played a lot of Ilyasova and Bellinelli in the overtime period, but Dario Saric was not on the floor. At the end of the day, it's more of the Celtics taking the game from the Sixers once again than the Sixers blowing it. I think it was the fact of, this is what coaching experience in the playoffs does for you. You know, we talked about this being in the beginning part of the series, that the Celtics are an experienced team. The Sixers, yes, they've added J.J. Redick and Amir Johnson in the offseason, but none of those guys have a championship pedigree. You know, and it really does take guys who've been in this mix before. The Celtics were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year with a lot of the guys that we see now. You know, Al Horford, Terry Rozier is part of that team last year. Marcus Smart, Markieff Morris. A lot of the Celtics guys have been a part of this for the last couple years, and now, you know, they have a chance of anything to get this team back to the Eastern Conference Finals where it should have been. Jason Tatum is not a rookie anymore. I think we've now can endorse him not to be a rookie anymore. And 24 points is another huge effort for Jason Tatum. I think the most 20-point games by any Celtic rookie in the playoffs in club history. I think he passed Larry Bird tonight with that. But in watching this game, you would say Brett Brown had some horrible out of timeout plays, and there were some bad ones. But you really, really cannot blame Brett Brown for this one because first and foremost, like I said, the Horford pass was horrible. The inbounds from Simmons was horrible. The Embiid giveaway late was bad. They had a couple plays down the stretch that were just confusing, and I don't know what the Sixers could do any better this game to win tonight. They just gave this one away. The Celtics took it from them. And Ben Simmons played a lot better tonight. I mean, it was a lot more of an aggressive Ben Simmons than we know than usual. And I still think, even though Embiid, had his moments where he was dunking on people and doing the things he had to do, he struggled from the floor too. People are saying you should have got more touches, but really should you have got more touches that missed 16 out of the 26 shots that he took? I mean, how many more opportunities can you give this guy to shoot the basketball? And speaking of shooting the basketball, where's Robert Covington? Covington, a guy that signed a huge extension, and it's probably one of the reasons why Dario Saric will not be back next year because the Sixers don't have the cap space to keep Saric, and then because you got to deal with Ben Simmons the following summer as well as potentially Markelle Fultz. And Covington goes 0 for 8. I mean, Robert Covington was unplayable most of the night. I mean, he was, he had a minus 12, but he was basically unplayable all night. Give the Celtics a lot of credit. They're guys who did play, and the Celtics really went on they started they started Marcus Smart over Jaylen Brown tonight, but the Celtics beat the Sixers really using a 7-man rotation. I mean, Shane Larkin did play 15 minutes off the bench. Really, it was a 7-man rotation. They kind of changed the lineup a little bit by putting Baines back in the starting lineup and letting Markieff Morris and Jaylen Brown come off the bench. Brown was phenomenal, 16 points, 9 rebounds off the bench. Rozier was solid all the way around again tonight, 18 points from him and 7 rebounds. And really in a game where the Celtics didn't have Al Horford score a lot of points, it's the fact of what Horford did late in the game was the real difference in the Celtics' victory tonight. Now you go to Game 4 on Monday night in Boston. Boston going to Philadelphia on Monday night, and just looking at the game, the Sixers have been demoralized at this point. I mean, there's not much more you can really say the Sixers can do in this series. Even if the Sixers get one, this series is pretty much over. It's a demoralizing game, and it's just it's not much more you can really say to the Sixers at this point. I mean, the Sixers, to me, have overachieved all year anyway. I still think the Sixers were a year away, and now this just proves that the Sixers still needs that one veteran that's going to take the game over late, the guy that's going to get the buckets late in the game, because you have so many good pieces. You have Embiid, you have Simmons, Dario Saric to me is a quality player. They bring back Ilyasova and Bellinelli. Those guys are solid contributors off the bench. They have to re-sign J.J. Redick. Covington's a better defender when he's actually playing. They just don't have the guy who is going to take games over late, and this proves it. They don't have that guy that's going to, because Simmons is still being played to shoot jump shots, they're going to pack the paint on Simmons. So until Ben develops that jump shot, he's kind of like Giannis in kind of a way that, you're going to make you beat you from the perimeter, and that's what's going to happen. The Celtics are up 3-0. I don't think the series gets back to Boston. I think the Celtics will close this out on Monday nights. And speaking of guys that are all-around players, LeBron James does it again. There is nothing else Toronto can do in this series. Toronto is just owned by LeBron James at this point. LeBron owns that entire franchise. Let's just be honest with everything we're saying now. There's nothing more that you can say more than LeBron James owns the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors can do nothing to stop this man. Now, mind you, Dwayne Casey did not play DeMar DeRozan in the fourth quarter, and I know people are going to blame Casey for this one, but DeRozan didn't do much of anything all night anyway, so it wasn't like it's a justifiable cause. Fred VanVleet played really well in the minutes he did, and starting the game in the fourth quarter especially, he was playing better defense. He was playing a better all-around game than what DeRozan did all night. DeRozan was halfway horrible all night. I mean, they changed a lot, put Ibaka on the bench, but DeRozan just wasn't himself tonight. 3 of 12 shooting. His shot wasn't there. It didn't seem like his head was in the game. So Van Fleet took all the minutes of the fourth quarter. C.J. Miles hit some huge shots and bringing them back. Kyle Lowry showed why he's an all-star. 27.7 rebounds. 7 assists. 9 of 13 shooting. Lowry was phenomenal, especially in the fourth quarter. But there's one underlying problem. The Cleveland Cavaliers have LeBron James, and that's the difference. James, 38 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, and oh, by the way, a full court, full speed, running bank shot off 1 foot to close the game and close the series out. There is not a chance this series goes back to Toronto, and I don't even know DeRozan's mental state after this one. The Cavs, once again, find a way to beat the Toronto Raptors. Dwayne Casey cannot solve LeBron James and hasn't solved LeBron James since he was the head coach, since he was assistant coach in Dallas. It's been that long. The Raptors cannot figure out a single way to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. But tonight, it wasn't just LeBron James. The Cavs had 4 other guys in double figures. Kevin Love, 21 points, 16 rebounds. Kyle Korver, 18 points. They got a good game from George Hill with 12 points. They got contributions from Jeff Green as well, too. And a game where J.R. Smith scored 0 points in 26 minutes. But it was nothing but James being LeBron. 14 and 26 on the floor, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. And his 2 missed free throws down the stretch made this game hairy. Because remember, OG Anunoby hit a huge three-pointer to tie the game. And ironically, James is the best player, but the Raptors refused to double-team him. I'm not sure what Dwayne Casey's thought process was with the play calling not to double-team LeBron James, but it just not been working. The Cavs have found a way to once again beat the Raptors. Now they're going back to Monday night in Cleveland with a chance to close the series out, and let's just be real, they're going to close it out anyway. So, and really in this game, there's not much more to talk about because of the fact of there's nothing that we haven't heard. There's nothing I haven't said. There's nothing that most people who've watched this series over this match over the last 3 years in the playoffs can possibly say about the Cavs. They're just a better team than the Raptors, and not even a better team. They just own the Raptors. Once again, LeBron James has beaten the Toronto Raptors again. James has literally lost 3 games against this team in the last 3 years in the playoffs. Do you really think the Raptors stood a chance when they drew this matchup? The Raptors were hoping for everything that the Bucks would not have tanked that last game of the season and got blown out of the water, because that would have basically put the Sixers at the 4 spot, and the Raptors would have had a chance to beat Cleveland, had a chance to beat Philadelphia in this round instead of dealing with Cleveland. Now you're dealing with Cleveland, you know the series is over. And even in any case, I'm not sure how much Boston would have a chance to beat Cleveland, but let's just say this again, Cleveland is headed back to the NBA Finals. Unless LeBron James gets seriously hurt, what's going to happen? The Raptors are going to be eliminated come Monday anyway, and now you're going to have Boston, who is not at full strength, and LeBron James knows that he can beat Kyrie Irving's team without Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie can't do nothing about it. James is going to eat Jason Tatum alive and anybody who stands in his way to get back to the finals. Cleveland will win the Eastern Conference once again. James will have another finals appearance, and we're looking at potentially Golden State and Cleveland Part 4. You might not like it. It is what it is. It's the matchup. It's the matchup we've all said and some have dreaded, some people have asked for, and some people have known since the beginning of the season. I don't think this is going to change. And whatever Toronto does in Game 4 is just going to basically it's a pride thing. The Raptors are already defeated. They were defeated after Game 1 when they had a huge lead at home and Valanciunas missed a whole bunch of layups, and the Raptors have missed 12 shots in a row, and at one point 16 out of 17 or 16 out of 18 shots between the fourth quarter and overtime. That series was over. The series was over then. When you knew the Raptors had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter at home, and they could not close it out in Game 1. They had the Game 1 clumsies in Game 1, and then Game 2, LeBron James hit more. LeBron James was in fadeaway Game 2, where he just couldn't stop hitting fadeaways in Game 2. And there was nothing that a Raptor could do about it. And then tonight, James was phenomenal on both ends of the floor, 14 and 26 on the floor, 9 of 11 from the three-point line. But the only thing about Cleveland that scares me, LeBron James takes too many three-pointers in bad situations. Like, he just comes off the screen, just starts shooting threes, or if you think he's going to drive the lane, he tries that pull-up three-pointer. But I mean, there was just parts in that early part of the game where James was just looking like it was a 2K game out there, where he was just holding down the speed burst button and just driving in the lane, and the player gets stuck in a bad animation and he gets fouled every single time. LeBron can do that every single time. I mean, there were moments where OG Anunoby was on him one-on-one, or they used Siakam one-on-one, and LeBron would just drive right around them, and then Ibaka or Valanciunas would be at the rim, and it'd be a simple pump fake, and LeBron just get up and under, and that's pretty much it. Or you're going to foul him going to the lane every single time. I'm not sure what the Raptors... It wouldn't shock me if the Raptors get blown out on Monday night, because who knows what kind of mental state DeMar DeRozan's in. I know DeRozan is there. He did shoot 3 of 12 tonight, but your best player has to be on the floor. I mean, I get what Dwayne Casey said in the post-game press conference, that, hey, I work with the guys back in the league, and I get it. But DeRozan is a top 25 player in my league, in my opinion, in this league, and he's the best shooter they have, especially from inside the three-point line. So we'll be back on tomorrow night. And once we're on tomorrow night, we're going to talk about the Western Conference's Game 4s as they get prepared. And the good thing about those series is that they have to play Game 5. East, we might not see a Game 5. Check me out on AroundTheAssociation.com. Oh, by the way, Monday is the debut of the top 25 under, or 25 and under in the NBA. I'll have a nice little conversation about that one. But we'll catch you guys tomorrow night. Peace.